You're listening to News New Mexico, where New Mexico's business comes first.
Launch Control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
Hold on to your lug nuts. It's time for an overhaul.
Turn it up some.
I'm your huckleberry. I don't give jobs, I hire men. You won't give me anything, and I won't give you anything.
Collision, sir.
Whoa, relax. We're not even moving.
There's no crying in baseball.
Live and statewide, we're News New Mexico. It's Tuesday, September 18th, 2012. Bob Endlich's here. I'm Michael Swickard. Jerry Harden's our producer-director. On the Newsmaker line, we've got Marita Noon. Energy Makes America Great. Org. Yes, you got to remember, energymakesamerica.great.org. And Marita, you've met Bob Endlich, I believe. He says, well, he remembers meeting you.
Did we meet in Chicago?
At the climate conference, yes, ma'am.
Yes. You were there in studio, Bob. What a treat.
He is doing Second Voice right now, and so you'll hear him on News New Mexico. And oddly enough, every so often we end up talking about weather. I don't know how we do that, but when we talk about you, we talk about energy, and you have rage and ruin in the reign of the EPA. Can I do a little alliteration for you?
Sure.
The new thing they want to save in New Mexico is the Jemez Mountain silvery spotted sand dune salamander. A little alliteration there with the S's. You've got a lot of R's.
If we're going to stick with all those S's, they should be trying to save it in the Sandias, not the Jemez.
Oh, yes, the Sandia Mountain silvery spotted sand dune salamander. Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
You know, it's funny that when I tell that to an environmentalist, they get all potty-faced on me. Go figure. Rage.
Well, I don't know why an environmentalist would even want to talk to you.
I was buying the coffee. All right, rage and ruin in the reign of the EPA. Could the EPA do worse than our enemies would do to us?
Yeah, the EPA could do worse than our enemies would do to us because when they're your enemies, you at least know to have your weapons up. The EPA, there is the perceived idea that, they're the government and they're here to help us.
Well, that's a bad thought. That's a bad thought. Now, when all this unrest in the Middle East, it's so funny. You would think people would be screaming, we must be energy independent of the Middle East. We must be energy independent. I'm not hearing it.
No, we're not hearing it. In fact, price of a barrel of oil dropped yesterday. Saudi Arabia is pumping more oil than they have in decades. And, I think Saudi Arabia, like I see the writing on the wall, sees this Middle East, unrest as something to cause a spike in gas prices. And you see, Saudi Arabia has a vested interest in having President Obama win. Oh. And they understand that if America's gas prices go above $4 a gallon, then that's kind of the tipping point for the American public's patience with gas prices, acceptance, understanding, whatever. And that you get above $4 a gallon, which is where we've been heading, and many places in the country do have gas prices over $4 a gallon, and they start that drill baby drill squawking, and so the Saudi Arabia has upped the amount of oil that they're pumping. And so we saw a surprising drop in prices yesterday, which kind of confound the norms, but there's some other factors that play into that. But they don't want America squawking about drill baby drill because that will elect Romney. And Saudi Arabia
really
is not
drill.
us extracting our own resources.
Yeah, he'll drill, I think.
Yeah, he will drill.
And, of course, now one little bit of good news. We finally have confirmation that Osama bin Laden is dead.
Yes?
He registered to vote in Chicago.
I knew that was a setup. I know you, Michael.
All right, so now with the EPA, the hardest part about drilling a well is not getting the bit in the dirt and casing, triple casing down and all the other stuff. It is the permitting and all of the paperwork you have to do. Drilling now is a paperwork exercise before it's anything else.
Yes, it is. And the EPA, my column this week specifically addresses the fact that the EPA is doing this big study, and the Congress asked for a study back in 2010. They asked for a study that would help them determine, does fracking damage groundwater?
I could have told them no. I could have told them, and they wouldn't have had to spend all that money.
Well, but you need, as the industry really wants this report, because the industry, like you, is confident that the answer is going to come back no, if it is a real and valid scientific study. And if it is a true scientific study, the industry is convinced the answer will come back no. And so the industry is pushing for a strong this study to be done correctly. And it first, to me, when I found out about this story, it didn't make sense to me, because I'm like, well, wouldn't the industry like this study to kind of be stalled and go on forever? But then when I thought about it, I realized, no, the industry needs the study to be right, because no matter how the study comes out, let's say the study comes out that it doesn't damage groundwater, but what do you think the environmentalists are going to do?
Bad. They're going to say bad research.
Right, exactly. And if it comes out the other way, let's say it comes out that it does damage groundwater, what's the industry going to do?
Well,
bad research.
Bad
They're going to, either case, they're going to appeal.
Well, Bob Enlick here talks about global warming a lot, and he was even at that conference. And the funny thing is, he if you ever talk to him, and he says, well, let's talk, I'll send you some stuff. Be careful about printing it, because it'll be 40 or 50 pages of data and graphs.
Yes, you mentioned that previously.
Yes, he's a guy who deals with data and data, how you look at it. The EPA, when Marita Noon is looking at EPA, not really looking at data. We'll have more with Marita Noon, EnergyMakesAmericaGreat.org. That's a great website to go see the things she has. She has Rage and Ruin in the Reign of the EPA. More with Marita when we get back.
Interact with us each morning on Facebook at facebook.com/News New Mexico.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
All right, call her Marita. Don't call her Shirley. Marita Noon, EnergyMakesAmericaGreat.org. I'm Michael Swickett. Bob Enlick's here. We're talking with Marita about Rage and Ruin in the Reign of the EPA. Do you have any hope that we can rein in the EPA?
No, not under this administration.
That's the problem. I asked this one guy in a story, do you think the parking at UNM is going to get better? Because he said it's going to get a heck of a lot worse before it gets better. So I said, do you think it's ever going to get better? And he said, no.
It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
And it's never going to get better.
It can be reined in, but it's not going to be under this administration, because the EPA, as we saw back with Al Armendariz, who said, that his philosophy is to just crucify the first couple people you come to, and that makes them easier to manage. He was doing the EPA's bidding. I mean, that was the philosophy.
That was Little Joe's statement. Little Joe Stalin. You got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. You got to scare the chickens. He was just doing the Joseph Stalin routine.
At that climate conference, Marita, remember Alan Carlin, who used to be with the EPA, who said he's the guy who said that there's no factual basis for the finding of endangerment with carbon dioxide. Well, and he resigned the EPA, but he's given these talks at the climate conference, and he said watch out, especially if Obama loses, what happens with the EPA after November. He had a special session.
In the 75 days between those 2 points.
But Alan Carlin, he knows the EPA. He's a physicist and economist. He spent a lot of time there. Go ahead, Marina.
Yes, and he has very good insight. And of course, that's why he had to leave the EPA, because he was saying things that they weren't happy with.
The hard thing for me is we got 124 days till the inauguration, and I fear for my country somewhat.
Oh, I think a lot of us do, especially most of your listeners are going to have that same concern, and that's why this study that I wrote about in my column this week is so important. That's why it's so important that it be done well with good science, and the way the EPA is going about it currently ensures failure. And it's not what you think. I mean, if you read the comments on my column, people are saying, well, of course they're going to come out with, EPA is going to come out with this certain answer. But I don't think that's the problem with it. The problem is they're setting it up for bad science, and the bad science allows them to kick the can down the road because industry is holding back some investments and some exploration that they could be doing because there is this cloud of uncertainty hanging over them based on this EPA study that is scheduled to come out in 2 years. And if EPA can do a bad study and then it's held up in court, because the whole world is looking to America for this study because America is the leader in developing these hydraulic fracturing techniques. And for the listeners, the hydraulic fracturing technique is something that's been going on in this country for 60 years, but we're hearing about it all of a sudden because it's producing so much resource in this country, and that's where our new abundance has come from. And if they can stall that, that makes them happy.
Well, and I understand you've got we're back to back with interviews for you. You are.
I know I messed up. I'm so sorry.
No, that's all right. Marita Noon, the second hour, this hour, every Tuesday we get to talk to Marita Noon. We'll talk to you next week then.
I look forward to it. Thanks.
Marita Noon has the great website, energymakesamericagreat.org.